Hi, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. This is Mariam Hussein. Thank you all for joining the NIMS webinar series that as we kick off the new year. And it's what a new year it has been so far. So, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Again, it's my real pleasure to invite everyone. We had kind of taken a little break from all the education series just with everything going on in the world and getting NIMS back on track and with our mission. And so very excited to start the new year off with this topic and help reintroduce NIMS to everybody as well too. So the Nagami Institute of Islamic Medicine and Sciences. And so just as a quick background, Dr. Hussein Nagami had started this, and the whole goal for NIMS is to create understanding, acquiring information, disseminating Islamic history of medicine, arts, culture, and just to help us remember where we came from and also to know exactly where we came from too. And the museum, we host a museum that with Quran exhibitions, we have a bunch of books and a lot of information to share with the world based out of Chicago, Illinois. We also host field trips and a lot of activities. And so really looking forward to having everyone learn more as we learn more about our history as well too. And what I'm really excited about too is that we've been able to connect with a bunch of really great academic historians that have a lot of nuanced information about our history, and they have been doing such amazing work, and we're very excited to highlight them. And one of them that I'm excited to highlight today is Dr. Mariam Saada. So she has a very long bio, but I want people to hear from her first, but just very briefly. So she is an educator, researcher, public speaker. She was actually born in France, and she speaks 5 languages, alhamdulillah. She's earned her PhD from the University of California, Los Angeles, in Spanish linguistics from the Hispanic Languages and Literature Department. She has a double master's in Spanish and in education, and her BA's in Spanish. And so what she's going to be talking to us about today is that she's completed her documentary, and I hope I say this right, inshallah, Mariam, but Ojala Superias. And it's just an amazing story what she's been able to do. And full disclosure, NIMS has contributed to the creation of this documentary. And so I think one thing to just acknowledge too is that we are all living history in this moment, whichever timeline you want to start from. But it's been absolutely a lot of stuff, a lot of things to process ever since, if you want to go just as little far back as the genocide in Gaza to what we're living now, especially what's going on in South America and in our hemisphere. And we thought that this would be a really great timing to discuss what Dr. Saada has been working on and how there are historical connections to what is going on in present times. So without further ado, we'd like to introduce Dr. Mariam Saada and tell us more about your documentary.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. What a pleasure to be here with everybody.
And full disclosure, I know Dr. Mariam Saada well. And so I had heard about this documentary when she was hoping to get more information about it and before they started shooting and everything. And so just to even be here 3 years later, 2 years later, it's a dream come true, alhamdulillah. So really looking forward to hearing from you, Dr. Saada.
Dr. Mariam, thank you so much for connecting me and for presenting me. And this is, Dr. Hussein, you guys was there when I was dreaming of this project, and I kind of like spelled it out as a wish and desire to the universe, to Allah, when I said, I would like to make this happen. And she's here now, and she attended the premiering of the documentary, which is very, very heartwarming to me that she was there from the thought to the actual execution and presentation of this work. So the reason why I was inspired to do a documentary is as I was doing research in archives, I would often look at documents, ancient documents, and I would touch them and feel like I'm looking at a movie. This feels like a movie. This does not feel real like this. And people need to know this. This is not something I could just publish for 7-8 people to read. I would like for a lot more people to access. And I think it's the human story that really touched me. At some point, I was looking at it as timeline, as from the historical perspective, or as a linguist from just, the evolution of the Spanish language as a whole and how it became what it is today. And then I really realized that it's the human story that touched me. and it's a story of resilience. And I think that part of resilience is what resonates with me as a person, with a lot of us, especially in our time period now. The what we need is a lot of resilience to overcome, hope, resilience to overcome. So who am I? I'm a human being who loves the Spanish language too much. And I really want, I'm also a connector. I like to connect things together. So because I am Muslim, because I have Arab background, because I have the languages, because I like history and I like linguistics, and because I love Islam, like I felt like this is a topic that brought together my two favorite things in one spot. I love Islam and I love Spanish, and the fact that I found something in between that would, link, and very profoundly, in my research and my findings, one of the things that really touched me the most is that I also found the root of Islamophobia. So I felt like today I am living in this space where Islamophobia is something that I'm constantly struggling to. I am not this and I am not that. So when I found the root cause of it in that time period and in that history, it really touched me that this is not just a story about what I like and my passion, but this is a story about the root of our current, struggle as a community, as a Muslim community, or Muslim minority living in the Western Hemisphere, and this idea that Islam is not a Western concept, is an Eastern thing, and then this whole myth about Eastern versus West, and this whole myth that oil and water don't mix. This is like an Eastern like it's that creation. I think that fabrication of East versus West that I actually accepted, or thought it was the thing, right? East and West, there's two different concepts. And when I realized that, like looking at Spain, or Spain as a Western concept, and this is Muslims in the West and the contributions of Muslims in the West, it made me realize that this there's no East and West. It's just this. It's the othering. I accepted the othering of ourselves, and doing that research, I realized no, these Muslims were part of Spain and Portugal, which is like the Iberian Peninsula, a Western Hemisphere, and is definitely this Islamophobia that was designed, created this divide in my mind and in academia, in our minds as general, like, oh, this is um, so. With that said, I embarked on a journey of like taking this passion into film. I didn't know how it was gonna come along, and like organically, this project came together. It came from definitely, I want to highlight passion, but it's also prayer accepted. I prayed for this to happen, and I'm it's a beautiful project that is heartfelt. I think the beautiful part about the project that I really, I wanted something that would touch the audience, touch the way I was touched. I wanted the audience to feel moved, to feel touched, to experience something, be a human experience, not just like, okay, here's the information, here are the facts on the ground, and I wanted something a lot more than that. And I feel like our uh, editor, cinematographer Miguel Angel Marquez did a really good job, including the proper music, the proper tone, the proper tension, the proper arc, storytelling. So this is the creative side that brought the emotional, human part of it to the story, and really to reach a wide audience. So the audience of the documentary is not just the Muslim public. It's not just Latinos or Latino Muslims. It's for a wider audience, whoever would like to understand how really Islam in the West operated and how it was uprooted or silenced. So this is a story about the silencing of, but also a story of resilience. So as much as there was silencing, um, people want to leave a legacy behind. And I think this is our yearning, all of us. We would like to leave a legacy behind. I believe that the main goal of NIMS is to be legacy creators. Like, how do you leave something grand behind and have a long-term impact, not just an impact that would be for today, but like when we're no longer present, something that would speak beyond our time. So صدقة جارية for all of us. So I think this is the whole the really the introduction to my work. So I invite everyone to, well, I'd like to present the film to NIMS, and so this is one of my personal goals. I'd like to present it to everyone. So I spoke to my motivations to making the film.
Hey, Miriam, real quick. So just in case those who may not be super familiar, that what when you were like talking about the documentary itself, that is, tell us a little bit about, not to give the whole story away so that people go and actually listen to the documentary, but what were kind of the things that you thought were happening, I guess, while you were doing your research, and then just that the connections that what, like, about colonial Mexico, right? The thoughts about it versus what the story was being told about Spain. Give us a little bit of background on that.
Thank you so much. It's a wonderful question. So I really I began my journey of research about 27 years ago. And that was the time when I joined UCLA, and my advisor was asking me to connect, the Arabic language to the Spanish language. She said, there's a huge, we know today there are 4,000, 10,000 words from Spanish into Arabic. I mean, from Arabic into Spanish. And we want to know how these words came about, like what motivated those speakers to bring those words and incorporate them into the Spanish language. So you're the person who's qualified to kind of speak about that, because you're already, you know the language. So when in doing that research, I found myself in archives. I wanted to do a longitudinal study and see how language decay happened over time. Because today, Arabic is not one of the languages of Spain. There is 6 other languages, but Arabic is not one of them. So they speak Aragonés, Catalan, Gallego, Asturiano, and Spanish, right? So there's other languages besides Spanish in Spain today. But like Arabic, that was spoken for like 1,000 years, is died. So I guess I followed the theory of language death. I said, let me see how a language dies, right? Well, like today, there's something called language revival, language death. So I said, okay, I'm going to look at death and atrophy of language. So I looked at it, and I looked at the research, but most of the languages that died, such as, Latin, nobody speaks Latin today, or, Aramaic, or there are languages that only survived in writing, but they don't survive in speaking, right? Or like nobody uses them anymore. So I wanted to see that case study, and surprisingly, it didn't just die. There were like policies to make it die. Like it was a systematic eradication of the language, but not just the language, the people. And I think that was the turning point for me, is all the policies set in place, they call them edicts, all the edicts that were set in place in Spain to ban the Arabic language, to ban the Quran, to ban Islam, to ban Muslims, to ban this, to ban that. So when I saw the streamline of how all of these steps happened, I realized, oh my goodness, this is like this. First of all, it took a long time to destroy this language, but more than anything, to come after the people, right? It took a very long time. And I wanted to know what was the part that was successful to make the language be destroyed. Is it because they destroyed the schools? Is it because they destroyed the universities? Is it because they destroyed the libraries? Is it because they destroyed the writing? What part of it caused that shift? So I found that they were pretty successful at destroying the language, because what we have today is the leftover of that language, right? But what they were not able to succeed in doing is removal of Islam, because then I discovered something called crypto Muslims, which is underground Muslims. I was like, wait, what? People became what? Crypto? Like, how do they do that, right? So crypto Muslims were the people who had a pure Spanish name, practiced Catholicism as on the outside, but internally at home, we're practicing Islam. And the same thing applied to the Jews in that time period. So I found two groups of people who were going through the same thing, except that the Jews, nobody was after the Hebrew. Let's do a policy for removing Hebrew, and let's do a policy for destroying Hebrew. No, it was just a lot more concentrated on Arabic, Islam, and Muslims. So that was just like very clear, the distinction. So in doing so, in trying to remove the language, there was this targeting of the people, and I became very fascinated by the crypto Muslim concept, right? I was like, wow, like who is a crypto Muslim? And then how did they even do it? And then why? Because I'm a Muslim today, but if you put me in a situation like this, do I really want to go in the crypto world, or I'm just going to migrate and say, you know what? I can't experience freedom of religion in my place. Why don't I go somewhere else where I can be open and be myself, and I don't have to hide, and I have to pretend, and I have to do a double face? And how do I justify this to myself, to my children? How is that right? Like, it doesn't sit right with me. So I think I had to study then the external forces, what's going on in the Muslim world, so I can understand first of all, why didn't the Muslim world move to liberate the Spanish Muslims who are under persecution? That was like one a big question that I had. Where are those brothers and sisters in Islam who would come and do something for these people? This is crazy. I can't believe what I'm reading. Number two, why the Muslim world did not open the doors and the gates for people to leave and migrate and live in their countries. So surprisingly, I found, like, for example, Tunisia today opened the doors and accepted, Spanish Muslim expats or people in exile, whereas Morocco shut the door. Morocco said, we can't accept those migrants because if they come, they're going to flood our country and, work and all the economy and all of that. So like, no, we're not accepting Spanish Muslims. So some of them came earlier, but when the persecution became very real, that's when you see the colors of everybody. Like, wait, Morocco shut the door, but Tunisia opened the door. But like, wait, what? So it resonated with a lot of what's happening today with migrants. So you can imagine I'm doing this research and I'm watching the news in Iraq, and I'm watching the news in Syria, and I'm watching so every time I watch the news, like if you bring it home to today, how this hit me hard, it's very hard because I can predict the next step. I can predict that Egypt's going to close the border on Gaza. I can predict these things. Why? Because I've seen it in history. I know that exactly. This is the moment when we shut the door and let them die or let them survive. And how do they survive? They figure it out. They go to crypto, they do whatever, because human beings will survive. This is a story of resilience, and this is a story of human beings trying to stay alive. So what makes people stay alive this is when you come down to faith, because language, as much as possible, will adapt, and people will assume the language of the colonizer, and people will do whatever it takes to survive for jobs and for whatever. But what really, really, really makes people have that strong resilience is faith. It comes down to that, having faith in God. Well, you know what? I'm going to continue being, true to God and do what's right, and God will be on my side. So that's the story I found, and that's the story I wanted to communicate through this documentary, is how external forces may come to eliminate a people, but with strong faith they will survive. And so here's the real challenge of this documentary. How do I tell the story of a people who went through this kind of experience without sounding like another Holocaust story? Because that's not what I wanted to do. I did not want, here's another Holocaust movie, please remember forever, this will not happen again. Not that I want this to happen again. Obviously, I'm not like hoping that I would see this in the news on the next country or the next phase. Obviously, that I don't want this to happen again. But at the same time, I don't want that tone. I don't want that victim mentality. I don't want that story of woe to us and a depressing moment and sit down and be in a very helpless place. I don't want that for my community. I don't think it's a healthy mindset. And plus, I don't think it's what that story really communicates. It communicates the opposite. It's a story of strength and resilience and survival. It's not a story of weakness and true to the elimination, true to the silencing, but it's not true to the strength of resilience and pushback, right? But I think they pushed back very smart. Like they were very smart people. They pushed back intellectually. So they continued their legacy through architecture, through writing, through contributing, through being positive people. Like, I'm going to be a positive member in society. Call me Juan Martinez, but I don't care. Juan Martinez will do something grand in society. And my relationship with God is I'm Muslim. Society thinks I'm Catholic. I really don't care. So they were able to separate those two very well in their minds and sit in their hearts at peace. Like there's no conflict. And I think that's the part that really I wanted to like highlight and communicate is, they were at peace with who they were. They didn't have that conflict. The conflict was, I don't want anyone to catch me and figure out that
Right.
that I
Mhm.
am, making salah or performing
Yeah.
or fasting Ramadan or doing any of those things. I don't want anyone to know these things. These are my secret practices, secret practices,
Right.
right?
No, and Mariam, and I think the thing that's just shocking to me, because obviously I've heard about, what you've been working on for a while. And so, and everyone, we'll share the link so everyone can see the documents. It's actually pretty short, just like an hour, hour 10. But I think that the thing that's just wild to me is that hearing it, kind of on both ends of it, is that what you're talking about could be at any time point and this is what it sounds like is the scary part because you're talking about, correct me if I'm wrong, like 15th century, right? 14th century world. Spain went after a Muslim empire and what people have to go through, but all I can hear about now is just the last 2 years, right? Or the last 75 years or whatever they may be, right? And just how history repeats itself and how you could predict what's going to happen because history repeats itself.
It's
And
so it's like
that's what's just scary when you
it
talk.
is
And I'm like, you
scary.
can say it at any time point.
It's scary because I don't want to watch the news because I can tell you what's happening next. And it's
Mhm.
and people think I'm like this is like what you're a fortune teller. No, I'm a history reader. I'm a history reader. I've seen this before. I've seen that before. Like for example, I'll give you an example. Iraq, like Iraq was like the strongest military in the Middle East, and so Iraq to me represented Toledo in Spain. Right, Toledo was the city that was impossible to conquer, impossible. But guess what? It's the first one that fell, just like Iraq. I said, if Iraq falls, it's the fall of the others, right? Oh my goodness, this can't happen. This is the strongest military, just like Toledo was the strongest one. And so Toledo was surrounded by a river. It's impossible for any army to ever get to the city. It's like like physically impossible. However, it was the first target and it fell. And the fall of Toledo in Spain, they called it the earthquake in the entire peninsula. They said, oh my God, if Toledo fell, we're all done. We're all done. Like this is, we're not even nowhere near the strength of Toledo. And that's exactly what Iraq was. And so the minute Iraq fell, I said, oh my God, who's next? And they're like, oh, you're so pessimistic. Don't talk like that. I'm like, who's next? Who's next? I know it. I've seen it.
Right.
So yes, I've seen 400 years of systematic how it was done. We don't need 400 years to live it and then find, oh, write the story of how the evolution of how this happened. So I think it came down to, like, if you ask me, it's definitely the Muslims not working together in one front.
Mhm.
Sadly, I wish we were a lot more united. And one of the beauties of Islam, and I discussed this with my mentor, is in the Muslim community, Dr. Fathi Osman, who was a historian. I discussed this with him. Is ethnic, multiracial, multilingual Islamic community a plus or a minus? Our being is the fact that Islam stretches from different cultures, different, like there's no face to a Muslim. Muslims look, you can be anything and anyone. You could be tall, short, white, dark, black, white. I mean, you could just be anything and be a Muslim. You could speak any language and be a Muslim. Is that a plus or a minus? And I sat down with my mentor and I wanted him to explain it to me. He's like, well, this melting pot, Islamic melting pot of like all these cultures and religions is actually was the strength of the Muslim empire. And Islam, it was molded to different, it never came to change culture. Islam was never designed to come and change language or culture. And Arabization came to access the Quran and to understand the premise of Quran, not to remove languages and destroy local languages. And the proof and the evidence is that people who were Arabized to read the Quran or have access to it maintain their own languages. And the other thing is Islam cared so much about writing in general, reading and writing and documenting. Islam is a documenting civilization, right? This is a civilization of pen and paper. And so when we went, when Muslims, when I say we, I'm very proud, I'm a Muslim, right? So when we arrived to territories that didn't have a writing system, we actually let them borrow the script. So there are languages that use Arabic script to write their own language, such as Old Turkish or Urdu, right? Languages that borrowed our script. And the reason why they borrowed our script, they didn't have their own writing system. Why? Because Islam, and as a Muslim, we don't care that you speak another language. We care that you document and you become part of this human civilization. So this, if you want to ask me what's the genius of of a Muslim civilization, it's this pen and paper that we implemented. So well done. Well done. We were not about conquering land. We were about education. The first thing that Muslims were doing were put a school, put a masjid, put a school, put a masjid, put a school, put a masjid, put a school. And why is the school? Is to educate. So
Right.
the concept, the first word, revealed in the Quran is Iqra, read. And then there's a surah called Noon wal Qalam, right? Noon and the pen. So it's a civilization of reading and writing and documenting. And again, this takes me back to a linguist. I'm a linguist, which I follow the four areas of language, which is reading, writing, speaking, and understanding. This is my hub. I'm looking at language and seeing what survived, what's dead, what's this, what's that. So I wanted to know why Spain was Arabized, because the Iberian Peninsula is a Western Hemisphere, and these people definitely got Arabized, but they also got de-Arabized, right? For sure they were Islamized and they were de-Islamized. So they went through the whole thing, the Arabization, the Islamization. But when they got de-Arabized, we can still trace it in their language. But when they got de-Islamized, this is the part that we completely skipped. We did not know that actually they were de-Islamized. I want to say watered down Islam, like a light Islam, like I'm not a Muhammad Ramadan in your face anymore, but I'm gonna be Juan Diego Sandoval. You know what I mean? Like I'll still be Muslim and be Juan Diego Sandoval. You know what I mean? And that's okay, and that's possible, and there's no conflict, and there's no. So I'm not saying this watered down as like there's something wrong with the names. All I'm saying is this integration of Islam into different cultures is definitely something that was the genius and the reason why Islam survived until now, stretching around the globe. If Islam was rigid, static, not allowing for cultures and different dress to be and different languages and different foods, and I'm going to change your diet, and I'm going to change your dress, and I'm going to change this. The dress was modesty, the diet was pork. I mean, it was just very simple. If you want to look around, like what is really like what's the guideline? It was just like very trivial, in my opinion. It's a very trivial guideline. Hey, modest dress. So it doesn't matter what you wear anything you want. Here's your culture, just like, modesty for social norm reasons, right? And then pork, dietary health reasons. And then there was hygiene, definitely. Wherever Islam went, hygiene came with it, cleanliness, and therefore disease. and then science, and then modernity and improvement. But then here's the genius, I think, also, and I talked this with my mentor over and over. The genius of Islam being in different parts of the world is bringing economic prosperity. So, really, the underlying point of why economic prosperity is key, follow the money. Economic prosperity means I'm going to build a bridge, I'm going to create jobs, I'm going to help people, right? I'm going to eliminate poverty. I'm not going to have beggars on the street. So when I'm able to do all these things, then I can talk God. So God is not the first, it's not the starting point. I'm not going to come in and say, Allah, the Prophet, this, that. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go in, change the condition of wherever I go. And that's how I make the real changes.
And you're saying that's how Islam was spread?
That's how it was spread in successful models that exist until today. So like prosperity, economic prosperity, and infrastructure were really the core. And surprisingly, and I look at Spain again today, what they have today that Muslims left behind is still the infrastructure to their economy. The same bridges, the same roads, the same things that were built by Muslims way back then. So their hard labor and work is still beneficial and good. The goodness, it's still good and benefiting until today to the great grandchildren who are not Muslim. But guess what? They're benefiting from the infrastructure built by their ancestors, right? So I think looking at these things makes us have a completely different perspective, in the sense that let's bring this to today. I think the next part of this is, how is this work relevant to current times and our youth? Well, our youth need to understand the true meaning of our contribution. Our youth don't they come from a place where, like, oh, we're children of migrants, or I'm not sure what their mindset is, but I just want to be Americanized. I'm a Western person, I'm not from the East. Again, they feel like there's this East versus West. Well, I want to be more West because, my parents don't understand this or that, whatever, like, or my grandparents. However it is that the youth want to frame themselves, I think it's the lack of understanding of that great contribution of Islam to human civilization. I'm not going to say Western civilization, and just to humanity at large, and the lack of recognition. So I'll tell you something that sits really hard with me. As a Muslim, you're supposed to do good deeds. Your right hand doesn't know what your left hand is doing, right? So that's like the ultimate good deeds. You don't go bragging. You don't put your name on a building and say, hey, yeah, no, I just donated $1 trillion. Blah, blah, blah. Let's clap our hands and put my name and glorify me. And that takes away the good deeds. As a Muslim, you're supposed to go make the donation, more subdue, hide it, not show it. That's the real good deed, right? But here's the problem. How many good deeds have these people done, and it's completely silenced, secret, not known, not highlighted? We don't put our names on buildings. So we don't know. So we kind of like uncover. We need to retake that credit back. We need to give credit now. Those people are dead. They already got the good deeds with God. Okay, it's over. However, recognizing their good deeds today is recognizing who we are today. Because we don't have it's very hard to ask us to become the bragging culture. Hey, it's very hard. I mean, we can do it, but then we're going to sit wrong as like, wait, am I getting really good deeds for this? Did I really get good deeds because I just want my name and then that's it? Recognition. There's a lot of people who are this anonymous donors, and they donate more because they're anonymous. You know what I'm talking about? It's because it's part of sincerity. I want to be sincere. I want my heart to be true to God. I don't want this to be boastful, not the right place to, and so donations in the West are very well labeled, very well credited. So when I say West is, I'm going to say in the non-Islamic setting, right? As a Muslim, I feel like we kind of need that credit back.
And not for yourself.
Mexico and say Muslims built this, and let's give them credit.
Right, right. Not for ourselves, but to honor the past, like you're saying, because they didn't get a chance to
They
highlight
didn't get a
themselves.
chance because they couldn't. I mean, you and I know that I don't want to put my, if I have a large donation, please don't put my name on it. Like, please not. But 100 years from now, how are you going to know that Muslims in Southern California had a positive contribution? Unless I put my name on a building. You know what I mean?
Well, and so that relates actually. So somebody asked a question that how did Muslims in colonial Latin America preserve their faith and identity under colonial rule? And I think that that's kind of what you're referencing, that it wasn't, what you're saying about the spreading of Islam, that it wasn't like this is Islam or in necessarily like, hi, we're Islam, but that we're helping the community, we're building bridges, infrastructure, and that legacy has lasted hundreds of years
Correct.
without
So
ever
it's,
needing a name.
we don't need an, so I think it was an individual, like if you ask me the process of survival, I think it was an individual slash small groups that really trusted each other. I think the way they survived is extreme trust. I need to know that when I see you, when we pray together, you're not going to go backbite me to the Inquisition and pull my name out and sell me out on the next week. I need to, because that's my life is at stake. There's not a game. There's no game here. This is not a joke. I need to know if you know that I'm Muslim and I know that you're Muslim and we're both out on the street pretending we're not. I need to know that you're not going to pull that cover off and expose me. So they could not afford betrayal. They couldn't, because betrayal equals I'm going to lose my life and the livelihood of my family and my children. So that's why the level of trust had to be extreme. So they closed up and became like, clan like, and definitely had a lot of children, and it became us. This is us, right? This is so. And with that, you could look at any groups under persecution and their survival, and it would be the exact same strategies. Extreme vigilance, extreme caution, extreme, like they have to, they don't have a choice. Any, and no, they cannot afford a mistake. There's zero chance to mistakes, because the mistakes is what we caught in the Inquisition, in the documents. Whatever I have is the mistakes. I don't have the other stories. I don't have the ones who were successful covers and went around society and nobody ever knew about them. I only have the ones that were the neighbor told on them, the best friend told on them, the wife told on the husband. I have those cases. The wife, oh, you're not going to do this, she went and reported her husband to the Inquisition. So I have these cases in society where the betrayal, I have the betrayal cases. That neighbor next door who you thought were not peeking in your garden and then saw you making salah or making wudu, like, hey, wait a minute, what are you doing? I'm gonna report. So I'm not really this good neighbor anymore.
And I like the word you use about betrayal, because I want to make sure that this gets highlighted, that a lot, because obviously a lot of our focus is on Gaza, right? And especially
Yes.
in the MENA region. But this betrayal, I want to say betrayal purely, but sometimes it feels like we like you said, the Arabization, that is what Islam is, where you have Malaysia and Southeast Asia, and then now through you learning more that a lot of Latin America, a lot of South America is related to Islam, and how Venezuela is and not just Venezuela, but how attacking even this hemisphere, right, relates to Muslims too, just as much, and not betraying that. And so it's just something, if you want to comment on that part, just why this story, even about the southern hemisphere on this, or on this side, that how important that is just as much as our history in Gaza and Iraq and everywhere else.
So the Muslims, after the fall of Granada and after the experiencing the betrayal within inside Spain and outside by the Muslim community who didn't come for their help. They actually tried to knock on the Ottoman Empire door and got a promise from the Ottomans in the 1501. There was a very beautiful poem written by, and actually published in UC Berkeley, on it's called the like the cry of the Morisco to the Ottoman Sultan. So they went to Suleiman the First, and they told him in a like basically the poem is 4 pages. They narrated the entire story of what's going on in Spain at that time, and they said, "Help! You guys are the new Muslim leaders. You guys are the strong ones in power right now. We don't care that you're not Arab, like you're Turks. You know, we're okay. We're also not Arabs. We're you know we're Spanish. We're not Arabs, but we think we can connect, right? We can connect on the fact that you can come and help us. Bring your ships, your naval ships, and help us because Spain is like all the coasts, right? Come and attack." And they said, "No, no, no. We're going to do a different strategy. We're coming from the east. So how about you guys go underground for a while and hide, and we're going to come and liberate you soon." And it was very easy to say for the Turks and very easy for the Spanish Muslims to embrace because actually the Ottomans were moving east and advancing and successful. This was actually they had a lot of victories to kind of defend that argument. In the meantime, Christopher Columbus and expeditions are going to the New World, new to us, new to the ignorant. Obviously, it wasn't new or anything. It was that world existed, a long time ago. But to whatever they called El Nuevo Mundo or the New World, and the people who felt like, I'm going to run away were like Muslims at the time. I'm going to get on the ship and go. And so you're talking about the story of Latin America. This is not just Mexico. This is Central America. This is South America. Open land field. Anybody can be here. And it was just this American dream. You go there, you find the gold, you find the silver, you become rich fast. So they sold the idea of becoming rich fast overnight. And there's a lot of those rich Spanish guys who came back to Spain with gold and silver and built palaces in Spain. And there was like a lot of this promoting of build your richness overnight. It's kind of like I want to say Bitcoin concept, like, hey, you buy yourself 2 Bitcoins, you become rich in two days. And then it was exactly like that. They sold that to the Spanish population, and people really chewed on it. Like, they loved it. Got on the ship, let's go, start a new life, blah, blah, blah. So the remnants of Islamic presence in Latin America is screaming, is loud, it's big. So Venezuela, a little anecdote. I have a student, I teach Spanish. So we're doing this final project, and everyone in the class had a different country to work on. And I had specific students. I told him, when you're doing your country, Venezuela, make sure you talk about oil. So he did his final presentation. He didn't have anything on oil. So I give him 80%. He was a B. Boom. No, miss, you can't take away 20% over oil. I don't want to do research on oil in Venezuela. I'm like, listen, you don't do oil, there's no Venezuela. Let the conversation ended. I mean, thank you for talking about the history of Venezuela. Thank you for talking about, the culture of Venezuela, the music, the people, the food, all that stuff is great. No oil, 80%. And so he contested the whole time. No, miss, I mean, come on. You're pushing your agenda. You're trying to make me do something I don't want to do. Like, no, where's the freedom? I want to do my own thing. I don't want to talk about oil. I'm like, Venezuela, oil, no questions asked. You got to talk about how this is the strategic move. This is the oil reserve. And so I can't wait to meet my student after we come back from break on Monday. And the first thing I'm going to ask him is, how do you feel about the 20 points you lost over the oil for Venezuela? How do you feel about that? Because he was like, testing is great. He even called his mom. I'm going to tell my mom about this. I'm like, I don't care. No oil, no grade.
Right. No, and that's the thing that I think just reinforces your point about knowing history, that because you learn from the past, you're able to understand your present and know that oil was, and this isn't controversial, it's obviously been said that is the reason we went in. So 20, 30, 100 years from now, when we look back, that's what the history books are going to say, that Correct. It was for oil. So it just reinforces that point. And just to make sure that I get to people's questions, because this question relates then exactly like you said, your student, when you start classes next week, that from your perspective too, as a historian, as an academician, that how should either this history about our Hispanic roots in Islam or just Islamic history in general should be taught in academic and community settings? If you could touch on both.
Most definitely. I think it has to be taught in the two settings for sure and be part of curriculum. It would be wonderful if we're able to modify curriculum and include that. Because I feel like the topic of the documentary is the story of uh, how those runaway Spanish Muslims got to Mexico and left remnants and left presence in different parts. I think this needs to be said. This is when we take back. Remember, I told you, Mariam, that we need to look back and actually highlight and not be. This is the time to be boastful, and it's okay, and it's halal, and it's good. This is not the time to go, shy and not and hide the good deeds. This is the time to actually highlight the good deeds, and I feel like we owe it to them, but we also owe it to ourselves. So it's going to strengthen our position in the sense that we can strategize better. We know what we undo the discourse of the colonization. The colonial discourse is very clear. It's about resources. It's about, so when you come into the Muslim world and you talk about it as, the clearing up evil in the Muslim world, we kind of have to look at closely. Is that part of the world strategic? Ask the questions. Is that part of the world resourceful? Is there something that we want there, that we call it this, but we are actually doing that? So I think, like, when we read the script and we're able to understand the game, we outdo the game. It's a game. It really is a game. Sadly, we fall in the trap of the discourse and we sit in the place. I think we get geared into the defense part. Like either we get pushed into self-defense mode, what we are not. And I don't like that game. I don't play that game anymore. Like, that game it's kind of like game over. We don't play that game because I have enough self-confidence as a Muslim to I think that is really important too, building self-confidence. Our youth need that self-confidence. It's a need, not a want. They have to have solid root that I am proud of being a Muslim, and something grounding and real, not, oh, just be proud, say alhamdulillah, you're a Muslim, and blah. No, 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 just actually know, mentally understand, cognitively understand the why, in their heart feel strong, so that it's like I'm non-apologetically Muslim, kind of like a Mamdani concept. You see that pride, that I'm non-apologetically Muslim. That's the vibe the youth need to embrace, but from a historical understanding, from a cultural understanding, from linguistic, and also linguistically, not because I speak, my people speak other, whatever my people is, right, speak another language, that's like the negative, or the accent, or the labeling, or all that stuff. We need to refilter this and actually see this as the plus in our community, not the minus. Like, reframe plus and minus, because I think the colonial project has been like, we're trying to become too white, and we're educated in the white system. Like, I mean, we're a product of it. I mean, how do you blame us for not wanting to be white if we're part of that the educational product of
historically, that was the motive of the project, of the colonial project. So yeah, it's all history. It's not opinion. Yeah.
Yeah, like, let's there's no way that some white Christian male is going to tell me who I am as a people, as a culture, as a language. There's no way I'm going to take off my lens and see myself through the eyes of the colonizer and hope to get anywhere as a people, as any people. I'm brown, I'm black, my skin doesn't match, my mind doesn't, my culture. So my culture will be lower, my language will be lower, my color will be lower. Like, so I'm always going to be in the lower status, trying to up it by my education. Well, notice that as Muslims, we love education. We're pro-education, we're education lovers. That's great. But who's educating us? And who are we trying to become? So if we don't have that filter and understand that in this process of education, the one thing I need is to ground myself in my own identity and be non-apologetically that. That's great. I think that's a breakthrough.
Mhm.
What I love the most about Mamdani is definitely his non-apologetically assuming his identities, all of
Mhm.
them. He
Mhm.
embraces all of them, the language and the background of where he was born and where his parents are from, and and he's not like trying to. He's so comfortable in it that he's
Mhm.
not like trying to. It's a source of
Mhm.
strength, and that's exactly what Muslims, when Muslims were at the peak of their strength, they played diversity like it was just that. Wow, that incredible, crazy part of who they were. Diversity was not the reason for their fall. They fell when they
Mhm.
divided. Oh, this is the Pakistani masjid. Oh, that's the Arab masjid. Oh, that's the Turkish masjid. When I see
Yeah.
that, you know
Yeah.
what I see? I see the fall.
Right. No, again,
And I'm not
historically.
and I'm not
Yeah.
I'm not saying I don't go pray in these mosques. I pray in Pakistani mosques and Turkish mosques and Arab. I mean, I do that, but guess what?
Mhm.
Islam is not about that. Islam is all
Mhm.
of us. It's embracing
Historically.
all of us. It's diversity.
Historically, yeah. Historically, Islam wasn't about that. And I
And
think
so
that's the key. Yeah.
it's go back to it. The model was successful when diversity was a plus. The model was a failure when diversity became how we are against each other. So do we know how to work together? Do we know how to embrace each other? Do we know how to celebrate diversity? Do we know how to celebrate
Mhm.
each other? Do we know how can I cheer you on? You're different than me, but I love you, but I still love you. And you're still my Muslim sister, right?
Right.
Or
Right.
is the diversity a way for me to feel I'm better than you? No, you're better than me. No, my Islam is better than yours. No, my come on. We need to outgrow those games. I think it's time to leave those that skin behind and learn from history that it hasn't served us and hasn't done anything good to us till now. So let's not.
Speak,
And it's been a
speaking of
tool for
yeah,
colonization to
yeah,
split the pie and divide. So yes,
yeah.
sorry, I interrupted.
No, no, I was just saying, speaking of celebrating you, what are your next steps that you're working on? And
Okay, next.
where can people find you and the documentary and all that? Since we have about 10 minutes left.
So I do have a website. I would like for people to follow my website. I have not yet activated the TikTok and the Instagram and the Facebook and all these accounts because I want to say I'm humble. Like I don't like this kind of attention, but it's a must because it's the era and the time that I live in, and I have to accept that this is what's going on. So I actually need. So the next step is I need to fundraise to hire a team to do that kind of work because it's not my passion at all, and I'm very like shy. Not shy as in a person, but shy as in like I feel like some people boost their egos and become I fear that I fear that part. As a Muslim, this is the Muslim part here kicking in. I don't want the ego, self
Mhm.
glorification, self like it's very hard for me. So if another team is doing it and has strategic planning behind it and they're working on it, I would love
Mhm.
that. So that's definitely I'd like to fundraise for that. Next thing is film festivals. I need the credentialing of this film by
Mhm.
participating in film festivals. So 2026, inshallah, is a year of film festivals. Also, inshallah, we're participating in the World Cup. We got invited June 11, 12, and 13 to present the documentary in the World Cup in Mexico City for the game that's played on June 11th. So we are the featured film, alhamdulillah, for the World Cup. And then the exhibition, we've been talking about the exhibition to showcase those documents at the museum in Mexico City. Not just Mexico City. I would like for this to be a travel exhibit where people actually touch and feel and see replicas of these documents that I have found, so that I can inspire people into research and into this is the evidence that we were there. This is very valuable evidence and preservation too, and bringing attention. I want the Mexicans to know that they have and they own these documents, not just Mexico. And then finally, there's so much, huh? We got
Mhm.
invited by in Colombia to do the same exact thing in Ojala Superias, Colombia. They said that they have a lot more things than Mexico in terms of contributions of Islam and Muslims in Colombia. They said, hurry up and come before our government is out of place in August, because they have 4 people in Congress who are actually from, I guess, crypto Muslim background. I guess crypto Muslim background. And they are supporting in the sense that they can offer all the logisticals on the ground to make it easy, open the archives, give us access, give us filming access. This is really difficult to get all the permits and the approvals, bureaucratically speaking. And so now we have government support to do it, which is amazing, that we can basically, all the doors are open, just we go in and we film. So hopefully, inshallah, this is another part of the component, which is Ojala Supieras in Colombia. So we have until August. So I don't know. I need lives. I need several. I need like to send one Mariam here and another Mariam there, and try to make it happen. But alhamdulillah, so far so good. So yes, definitely the exhibition. Definitely the. I still deep down would like to do like, I have a final cut of my documentary, but I don't know if I should maybe push for a final cut. After showing the film in different settings, I've had like maybe 9 screenings so far, and I met some like filmmakers, and I heard their contribution on the film. There are parts that will definitely strengthen the story from filmmaking perspective that I could incorporate. Like I told myself, it's too late kind of thing. Oh, it's already done. It's too late. But there was a piece of me is I can push for another final cut. Now that I know this piece, because I like the ihsan part. The as a Muslim, you're looking for ihsan, which is like perfection, and only Allah is perfect. But anyways,
excellence. Let's say excellence, if not perfection.
Excellence. Yes, I'm looking for excellence. That's right. So yeah,
one event you didn't mention is NIMS. So we're gonna host you too. So look out for that as well, because we'll inshallah be able to do a screening in the Chicago area at the museum too. That we'll inshallah have that plan too.
Inshallah. I look forward to this. This is amazing. Alhamdulillah. And then thank you, Mariam, for your support. You guys, Mariam is one of those people who, when someone believes in your project more than your own self, like sometimes you think you're crazy with your project, and someone like sees your craziness and says it's a reality, we can make it happen. So Mariam, as a sister in Islam, I really appreciate your you were like, the Prophet ﷺ, was doubting his own steps, and he would go home and he had this support in the family. Well, definitely you are family to me, Mariam. I feel like you're the sister that grounded me when I had self-doubt, and you gave me those words that allowed me to be here today. So I really appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. I don't want to cry, but but it's definitely from my heart that I appreciate your continuous support whenever things were really, really hard and I didn't know what the turns. You always found a way to push me forward, to propel me, and had the right words at that time. So I appreciate you so much for that, honestly.
No, that's so kind of you. That's as I'm sure as everybody's hearing too, and we've been finishing up here, that just how dynamic and engaging Dr. Saada is, and it's so hard to not get captured into that and it's just that passion, because I think and I'm grateful to you, Mariam, just is just that, because you're helping us to remember who we were and where we came from. And I think that, and someone had mentioned in the comments, and unfortunately we don't have time to go into that, but it's about how Muslims connecting with the Quran or not enough. And I think that everything that my mom taught me about do get educated, right, and how that actually is Islamic. And I think that people like Dr. Nagamia, people who came before us, and who you and all the historians we've met recognize that this isn't some thing that just popped up in people's heads. This is what Islam is actually about, and how privileged were we that there was a period where that science and faith was practiced so beautifully that we're reaping the benefits hundreds centuries later. But also, how sad is it that we have lost our history? And if you're shy about asking for yourself, I won't be as part of NIMS, and Dr. Nagami is on remembrance too, that we will very happily, as we move forward in 2026 too and onward, that the donations we ask for at NIMS will go inshallah directly to the historians to do this work, so that even instead of working in silos, working as a community, again, not even just from a religious standpoint, from a historical standpoint. So look out for that, and please share the word about NIMS, about Dr. Saada, and that we'll keep inshallah moving this work forward, because we need to, not just for those who came after us, but for those that will come, but not for those that came before us, but for those that will come after us, inshallah. So
thank you,
Mariam,
Mariam.
thank you so much. It's been like one of the greatest pleasures to be with you. So thank you to be connected. And so thank you all for who stayed and listened in. And so we're really grateful. And so stay in touch with NIMS. We'll have, like I said, we'll have the event here too, and read more about Dr. Saada, and more to come, inshallah.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Take care, everybody. Thank you so much.